It's Wednesday, May the 20th. Lake levels right at about 916. They've been generating quite a little bit of water. Beaver Lake has been dumping some water into Tamarack, and we've also had quite a bit of rain. So there's quite a bit of water flow. Looks like we're supposed to get quite a bit of rain the next week or so. So it's hard to tell what the lake level is going to do. But the water temperature is staying about the same. It's 70 to 72 degrees pretty much throughout the lake. Now, one thing that's far from over is the spawn. I'm seeing more fish move up and building nests. I'm catching a lot of pre-spawn fish out on the points along with some post-spawn fish. And I'm catching quite a few fish back in the spawning pockets where I caught fish 2 weeks ago that were spawning. It seemed like after they got done spawning, a lot of them gravel pockets kind of emptied out of fish, but now it seems like there's another wave moving back in there. Catching them on a little bit of everything. I mean, there's been a phenomenal topwater bite the last 4 or 5 days. And with the way the fish are still spawning and should be for several more weeks, that topwater bite, I mean, it should be incredible for the next 2-3 weeks, especially on these cloudy days. What was kind of funny today is yesterday we had quite a little bit of sunshine and they bit the topwater, pretty much all day long. Now today we had overcast and rain, and I thought they would bite it all day long. They bit it, for 2 or 3 hours real good in the morning, and then it was kind of sporadic through the day. We kept kind of mixing it up a little bit and going from a topwater to a Ned rig to a crankbait to a jig. But it seemed like when they weren't biting that topwater, you can go back in them gravel pockets and still catch the heck out of them on a Ned rig. Now, a lot of them Ned rig fish, are anywhere from 13, some, 16 inches. The fish I'm catching on topwater, almost 85-90% of them are all keepers, and they're all good 2.5 to some, 3 pound fish. A lot of the fish that have already spawned are starting to get chunked up. They're feeding good. There's been largemouths, Kentuckys, and white bass mixed in with them. Now, a lot of them have been in the creeks and on the main lake points, especially where channels come up against it. But I've been keying on main lake secondary points with hardwoods and cedar trees. Them fish are suspending in the trees. Excuse me. But I'm catching them on different ways. If I can't catch them on the topwater, I've been catching them on like a Series 5 crankbait or a crankbait that'll run down 10 to 12 feet. I'm bouncing that through the tops of the trees. Another way I'm catching them is on a Kitech swim bait. And I'm also catching them on a Strike King flutter spoon. Now I'll show you the baits here in just a minute, the different baits I've been catching them on. Now it seems like the topwater fish, there's been some schooling fish, but a lot of these fish I've been able to pull out of this submerged timber. Still catching a lot of fish around the deep boat docks on topwater and swim bait. You'll see from, each day is a little different. Some days you'll see the shad up against the styrofoam. Seems like if it gets a little chilly at night, the shad aren't as active. But whenever them shad get up around them boat docks, you want to sit there and kind of parallel the dock with topwater baits or crankbait or the swim bait. And you can even take that spoon and flip it into dock stalls and get bit real good. Now the only place the topwater bite hasn't been working very well for me is in the dam area, like the dam to Kimberling City. Now from Kimberling City, up into the White River, up into James River, the further up in the rivers I get, the better it's working. I think there's a lot of fish that are a little bit further ahead, and right now with all this rain, we're getting a little bit more stain, so they'll bite it throughout the day. We've also caught some fish on some Texas rig finesse worms. When I can't get them to bite on the topwater out of the cedars, we've been flipping a worm into the trees. Now I haven't got a real good bite going yet on the jig. I reported last week that my better fish were coming on the football jig and some on a deep diving crankbait. I'm still not getting a whole lot of bites on that type of structure, which that should get better as more fish get done spawning. A lot of the fish right now, the post-spawn fish, seem to be more suspended. They're not out there on the bottom yet, or at least not where I've been fishing. I haven't found them. But I'll show you some of the baits that I've been using. On the top water, I've been using several different baits. This is a Strike King Sexy Dog. Kind of got a green back chartreuse stripe, but also chartreuse Sexy Shadow work. I've been throwing a Vixen and a Czar Spook. You know, they've been working real well. And it seems like, you know, white and black's working good. As far as on the red fins and like the Storm Jointed Thunderstick, the color that's been working real good is a bone with a little orange on the belly, or all white's been working real good, whether it's on a Storm Jointed Thunderstick or a Cotton Cordell Jointed Redfin. The crankbait, I've been throwing some chartreuse and white, but this one here has been working about the best. It's a 5XD. I've been running it through the treetops, banging it off the limbs. And this side tends to work a little bit better once the topwater fish, the bite stops, or you'll see the fish sometimes follow a topwater bait or just swat at it. That's where the crankbait's coming into play a lot better. Also, along with the crankbait, there's two other things I've been throwing for them suspended fish. This one here is a 3.8 Kitech swim bait, and I'm throwing it on either a 1/4 ounce or 5/16 head, and I'm trying to do the same thing with it. Get it down 6, 8, 10 feet, just kind of bounce it off the tops of the trees. Another deal that's starting to work good, which always does work this time of year, is a flutter spoon. Now this one here is a Strike King. I don't even think you can get these anymore, but they make, you know, there's one that's out called a Dixie Jet that works real good in either a 1/2 ounce or a 5/8. And this spoon falls real slow and real erratic. I've been doing the same thing with it, getting it down about 5 or 6 feet and just kind of yo-yoing it back to the boat. But when them shad get up around the boat docks, you can also take this spoon and throw it in the stalls down along the side and get some bites that way too. But I mean, like I said, the topwater bite has just been absolutely phenomenal for us the last, you know, 4 or 5 days. We've had anywhere from 10 to 20 keepers a day just on top alone. And whenever that stops, it seems like you can go to the Ned rig and continue to catch fish on it. Now the banks I'm fishing on the Ned rig, and you can throw a shaky head or a tube, having to change the banks up quite a bit. Yesterday we went into some spawning pockets where I had been catching smallmouth spawning a couple weeks ago. Seems like they're all gone, but another wave of fish has moved up in there, and it seemed like they were mainly Kentuckys and largemouths on just flat gravel spawning pockets. Now some days I've got to go to the steeper, ledgier banks where there's the black rock ledge with some mixed pole timber and fish either a shaky head, finesse jig, or the Ned rig on those style banks. So there's a lot of different things going on. You just got to move around quite a bit. But I mean, every day we've had, you know, anywhere from 30 to 50 fish a day. So the fishing has been phenomenal. The keeper ratio has been real good. And as long as the weather doesn't get too nasty, it should be some great fishing for the next couple of weeks. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.